Hello, I'm Jim Rondo from the Canadian company Pilgrims Victoria chapter. I'm here to bring you yet another video on our series. This one is with Maggie talking about celebrating 80 on the Camino. Enjoy. Okay, hi Maggie. I know a little bit about you, but would like the viewers to know a little bit about you, your past history. I know that you were in the Hollywood industry. Can you tell us a little bit about your career and if you have any juicy gossip that you'd like to share with us?
Okay, well, we're talking 8 decades here. So yes, I was in the movie industry, as was my brother. So the short answer would be that my brother worked in front of the camera, I worked beside the camera. So, and we were at competing movie studios. I was at Columbia, he was at Paramount. And then when I went into TV, I went to CBS and he went to NBC. So it's been kind of a fun.
Well, now we have you in front of the camera, so that's great. We finally got you in front of the camera instead of behind the camera.
Well, when I was in news, I was a stage manager and assistant director in the booth. So I got to work both in the booth and on the set. So it was a wonderful time to be in the business. Nothing like it is now.
Well, I know that of you. You're very enjoyable as far as a group dynamics. So we love to hear you. And I know that, people at 80 or in their 88th decade, as you say,
Yes.
often are sitting there thinking about doing a cruise, sitting in a gated community. And what led you to hear about the Camino and decide to go on a journey on walking the Camino?
Okay, so I'll tell you, it was way back in the 1970s that I first heard, I didn't hear the word Camino, but I heard the word pilgrimage and I heard the word Spain. And it just burrowed into my memory and I never forgot it. So the year that I walked in September, but the December before that, I was here in Victoria. I moved to Victoria and I was attending a newcomers luncheon. And rather than a regular speaker, they asked a few ladies to get up and tell a short story about something spiritual in their life. So this wonderful woman got up. She was the second one to speak. And the minute she said El Camino Trail, that was it. I mean, honestly, I knew what I was going to be doing for my 80th birthday. So that's how it started.
Well, that's absolutely amazing. So you heard that. And so
Yeah.
how did you then decide to train and get prepared and mentally get ready to go on this walk?
Well, there's 2 resources that were absolutely phenomenal for me. And I don't think I could have done that walk without either the Canadian Company of Pilgrims or the El Camino Forum. And between the 2 resources, it was fantastic. So I've always been physically active as long as I can remember. I did a lot of training around Cedar Hill. It's about a 3K walk. And then I moved up to Beaver and Elk Lakes, and then up to Mount Doug. So my goal was to be comfortable with at least 18 to 20K a day. So that I did that for 2 months before I left.
And and Elk and Beaver Lake is about 10 Ks in one lap. Did you do 2 laps ever?
Yeah. So yeah, I got up to 20K.
Yeah,
That was my goal.
Excellent. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good job. 20K with the pack. You're my hero. Congratulations. And you also have a great story about Minister Alan Saunders, who was my church minister for a while. Can you talk about your experience with Alan?
Oh, I'm happy to do that because it was such a meaningful experience. So I sing in the choir at First Metropolitan United. well, did sing in the choir until we get back again. So a choir rehearsal one night, one of the members said, you know, Maggie, you ought to think about bringing your backpack this Sunday because all the kids are coming, you know, it was September, so the kids were getting ready for school and they're going to have their backpacks blessed. Which, what a great idea. So I did do that. And so when the time came, the children, you know, came marching in and they all sat, I think there were about 10 of them. They sat in the front row. And then after we sang our anthem, Alan signaled for me to come down with my backpack. So I did that. So he gave a blessing to the children. And then after he was done with that, you know, it's a routine where we sing an exit song for the children as they leave to go to Sunday school. So we did that. So once the children were out, then that's when Alan, he had done some research into the Codex. Now, I don't know if this pilgrim prayer came straight from the Codex, but it was the most beautiful prayer, and he had done a fair amount of research. So we got done with that. And then during the fellowship offer hour downstairs, the Sunday school teacher came right up to me and she said, oh, Maggie, you're going to love this. And I said, what's that? And she said, when all the children came back from their blessing and they came into class, I heard one boy say to another boy, that lady with the backpack's kind of old to be going to school.
Excellent.
So that was my farewell story.
That's perfect. And it's so Alan and Megami, so that's excellent.
Oh, they're wonderful.
Yes, they are. I have great memories of them too.
Good.
And I guess their blessing helped you because then you decided to get from Victoria to Saint Jean. How did you get there? And how did you plan your flights and traveling to?
So again, once more with that resource of that forum, because that forum had been going for several years. So what I did was I flew from Victoria to, or took the ferry to Vancouver, Vancouver to Madrid, because the next day I took the train to Pamplona. And that's when Itzvan owned the Pension Corazon Puro. So he picks you up at the bus stop. Unfortunately, they are not managing it now. They had to go back for, I think, a family illness. So his pension, there were 8 of us. So he served dinner and then the next morning breakfast. And then what he did, which was wonderful and quite a delightful surprise, he drives you around the Pyrenees through the San Carlos road. So we got to see a whole new road. And from day one, Jim, the weather was, I mean, it was just sterling. The whole trip, I think thanks to the weather, that definitely helped a lot. I mean, you know, it always rains in Galicia, but by that time I was welcoming a little shower. Yeah, so then so that's how I got to Saint Jean Pied de Port. And then I had already made a reservation at Bellari in Saint Jean. So I made reservations in Pamplona, Saint Jean, Orison, and Ronceville.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you did a few days before in order to have a place to sleep.
Yes, yeah, but other than that, I didn't make reservations.
Okay, so I guess the blessing from Alan worked as far as the weather, so that's good. But basically, tell us about your first day, because I know that a lot of people are, it's an impressive first day climb over the Pyrenees. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said, psychologically, I felt, and physically, I felt really strong. Of course, the mental part was still an unknown. But one thing that I did hear and I did heed was I took that first day pretty slow. In fact, the first 2 days I took pretty slow. And I have to say, I passed fellas in their 20s and early 30s who had to stop walking because one of them had shin splints and the other had infected blisters. So that just reinforced the fact that I just take it slow. And I did. And it was the toughest physical feat I had ever done, of course. But once I got over those first 2 days, I felt so much better of, being more assured that, yep, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this.
So the practicing, the training with
Yes,
all helped you in doing those first 2 days.
it did. Yeah, absolutely. No question.
So people on our pilgrimages, we've often found 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds and 18-year-olds who are broken
Yeah,
because they didn't practice. They didn't.
that's right. Yeah. Well, and I think there's a little too much bravado. They're trying to do, no offense, but they're just trying to do too much too soon. And of course, I kind of understand that because it's just such an exciting journey to be on. So I totally understood. I actually felt sorry for them though.
It's always tough because 20-year-olds think they're indestructible until they self-destruct. Anyhow, so did you have any doubts at all after your first day, or talk to us? Because that first day is kind of tough.
Yeah, it was really, really tough. But I think, I don't know how to say this, but I'm also very strong-willed. And I mean, there's that sense of determination.
Yeah. Well, we anyone who knows you knows that you're strong-willed. You have good stamina and tenacity. Tenacity is it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, stamina is the right word. I mean, strong-willed can't always be a good thing, but it's just that, I was determined and I was just soaking it all in. I mean, I was just loving every minute, even when it hurt.
Well, it's not like it was easy. And so, but the part of this interview is because you were in your 8th decade, you're a solo.
Well, yeah, so the purpose of the trip was to celebrate my 80th birthday. So I hadn't reached it yet.
Okay.
I was 79 4/5.
You're starting to sound like those 3-year-olds who's 3.5.
Right. Yeah.
So did you, you're a solo pilgrim, you're almost in your, or pushing 80.
Yes.
Did you encounter any incidents or any issues that caused you concern where you felt afraid?
Well, yes, there was one instance, but it didn't happen for, a while. And to be honest, I can't tell you the exact location, but it was probably, I'm going to say maybe 10 days into the trip. So I came to, it's like the Meseta, there's, you have the sky for landscape, right? There's only one road. So, and there wasn't a soul around. And then I looked down and I saw this car parked on the side of the road. And, I could see it from a distance. I mean, literally, there was nothing else around. So the closer I got, it was just my gut told me something wasn't right. So, so this is where my first Camino Angel comes in. So when I had that feeling in my gut, I began to slow down. And the closer I got to the car, I kept looking to see if anybody was in there and I couldn't see anything. But the closer I got, all of a sudden this body popped up in the car. So it was a guy And when I saw that, I absolutely knew something was wrong. So I stopped and it's like, okay, get out your phone, make a note of your coordinates, dial 112, this was going through my head. And then I looked down the road and I saw a car coming towards me way in the distance. And something said, just stay put, don't move. So I stayed put and that car kept coming and coming. And all of a sudden it got enough into my vision. I could see, can you believe, a police car? I swear to God. So I just sort of, did this with my hand for them to slow down. And all I did was point at that car. And so when they got up to me, they didn't get out. I didn't attempt any conversation with them. I sort of mouthed, malo hombre, bad man. And so they immediately went to his car and got him to step outside. And for some reason, I wanted to see his face. And so I just kept walking. But as I walked by, I looked back, and clearly just the look on his face told me that he really wasn't all there. I mean, I think he was, how can I say, and be kind. I just don't think he was, had all his senses about him. But, I was just feeling, my heart was so full of what was around me. And just that one little instant just sort of stuck in my mind, sort of like a little, rats, and so it lasted quite a while, but I finally got over it.
Well, they say that the Camino does provide what you need. And we
That-
hear time and time again those types of
Yeah,
stuff.
definitely. Yeah. So, but that was it. I mean, nothing else, just angel after angel.
Yeah, we've all experienced that. So, but you did have one health incident that you chatted about just before Astorga.
Yes.
Can you tell about it? And
Yeah, so this was about, I'm going to say, a little over 2 weeks in. So those forests that, when you're leaving Saint Jean and on your way to Orson, I noticed that every time I was in the forest that I started coughing. And I just, I couldn't figure it out. And I knew it wasn't a cold because you kind of know what that's all about. Anyway, long story short, it turned out I was allergic to the autumn pollen. And my cough got worse and worse and worse. And it was draining me of energy. And so that was a bit concerning. So I think it was around, probably, I think it was Astorga where I knew I had to, I mean, I could hardly move my, I felt like my insides were coming out of my chest. And so I knew I had to get medical help. And so I did, actually, I found it through one of the Pharmacias.
Yeah.
They directed me to a medical clinic. And so they gave me an inhaler. And I used that for a while. And then, eventually it wore off. But I was not in good shape there for a while. But that was kind of the extent of my medical.
Well, we're lucky that it wasn't COVID times, or they would have had you locked up and tested 10 times. But,
Yeah, it was a really bad case of bronchitis.
yes.
Yeah.
And the pharmacias are very different than the pharmacies here. Can you do a little bit explaining what they are like compared to Canada?
Well, they can, I mean, they can almost give you medical advice. They just are so knowledgeable about different products, and they can recommend things to you. But the most important thing is they can, in a snap, get you to a medical clinic you know, and they of course always know when somebody is in need, but they have so many suggestions and they're so helpful, and knowledgeable. I
And
mean,
almost every community has one or two.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. So I was very grateful for that.
Good, excellent. So besides those two isolated incidents, one with healthcare a little
Yeah,
bit, and one with the strange man on the side, were there any
the perv.
other- any other
Sorry.
ones, or did it go well?
Oh yeah, it just, yeah, it was, I mean, it was just glorious. And I think part of it for me is it's just that landscape. It's just being in that setting. I mean, even that spurs you on, you know, it just brings, I don't know, it just brings a certain energy. And as I say, the weather was just beautiful, just beautiful.
Excellent to hear.
Yeah.
And so as you were 79 and 9/10, and you talked a little bit about seeing a pharmacia and having health. Did you worry about travel insurance? What did you do about travel insurance, and what about the whole cost of insurance?
Yeah, well, because of my age, you know, travel insurance, if you can get it, is certainly, uh, so, yeah, I mean, it's very, very expensive. But, and at that time, we didn't have that advantage of through our chapter of the Canadian Company of Pilgrims, that we have now. So that's a big plus for everybody when they join. Um, but I ended up going with, if I can say their name, I went with To Go Insurance in Vancouver, and they were excellent. One thing I will mention about the medical center, if somebody's going for the first time and you do end up going to either the hospital or medical center, do try to pay on the spot if at all possible. I, in my instance, I asked about payment and they said, "Oh no, you know, you'll get a bill." But it was over 3 months before I got a bill. And of course, it came in Spanish, and you know, so it took quite a while to translate all that and get that taken care of. But it was, and it was so reasonable. Yeah.
And the CCOP benefit that now, if you're a member, you can get for either 17 days, multiple durations, or 35 days,
Uh-huh.
really cost effective and good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Good.
that's,
Yeah.
and we actually focused on getting it so that people over 80 can actually acquire insurance.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Anyhow, so now we're going to talk a little bit about your must-haves and your packing list, what you needed to bring, or what you'd like to communicate to the people who haven't done a Camino and are contemplating doing
Oh,
one.
as far as what's in your pack?
Yep.
Okay, well, I think if anybody has been backpacking for a while, I think most people sort of have the list down pat. But two things that I always take, you know, I spent 3 months for 8 years volunteering in India. And so when you mention India, people are, first thing they're worried about is getting sick. So our director of the Canadian charity that I volunteered for, this advice came from her. If you can believe, Pepto-Bismol. I ended up giving about a half a dozen of them away, and just, you know, for upset stomach, for, you know, all those internal things. It was just amazing. So I've never had knee problems, but I heard so much about knee problems on the Camino. So I purchased a pair of knee pads, or the, you know, the straps.
Yeah.
I never had to use them, but I ended up giving one away to the wife of a fellow who was so worried about her because she wasn't sure she was going to be able to keep walking. So I just gave her one, and I ran into them later on the trail, and she just, it just saved the day. Yeah. So, so those, I guess, those are really the only two things that, other than just any common sense, basic, uh, Band-Aids and, things like that.
But most things that you need could be acquired on the trail if you
Oh,
needed.
absolutely. Yeah.
Do
I
they have
don't,
Band-Aids in Spain and they have other things?
no, I mean, I don't think there's anything that the Pharmacias couldn't furnish you with, if you're in need of some medical aids. I mean, they're just amazing. Yeah, and as far as my pack, I didn't take a sleeping bag. I took a liner. And that just lightened my load a lot. So
How
yeah,
big was your pack, Maggie? How
pardon?
big was your pack?
Um, I think it was 8 kilograms.
Okay, 16 pounds
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
Okay.
And I had a ladies osprey
Okay.
that I love.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're nice. They're nice packs.
yeah, they are. And this
Excellent.
is, specifically for women.
And so the other question is that did you have a favorite Camino book or guidebook or apps that you used?
I did use the Barley guide,
Okay,
and I found it is, I can show you how worn it is.
it's good.
Yeah, but I had also purchased Santiago, the Pilgrimage Road to Santiago. It's the cultural handbook. Oh, okay. Yeah, it was written by the man and wife team. It
Okay.
is phenomenal.
Okay.
And for some comic relief, the only other book I read was What the Psychic Told the Pilgrim.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
those are
A
good.
must read.
Yeah, well, there's enough books out there now, and there's
Yeah,
lots of apps, there's lots of information, so people can do some
they're
research.
falling off the bookshelves.
They are. We have to commend you on your bravery, your determination. You're really admirable. I know that the first time we did it, I was 50, and it was hard. And so the question I would have is that, was it what you expected? Was it more? And so you had certain anticipations when you went or when you were planning.
Well, I try not to set up expectations because I think you can, even though I'm pretty much a type A, I think you just setting yourself up for disappointment because the whole magic comes with the discovery
Yeah.
of things. So if you're just trying to plan every single minute and expect this and expect that, I don't think it works too well. So no, I mean, it's natural to wonder what lies ahead, but that's the adventure.
Yeah.
I also discovered that part of the joy of traveling is preparing. I mean, just the packing and the research, and I love research, so I enjoy that a lot.
Excellent. And when you were walking, you said that you had planned for 18 to 20 kilometers. Were you able to find accommodation and do okay within those parameters?
I never had a problem with accommodations ever.
And where did
Well, as I mentioned, I only made the reservations for, getting to Saint Jean and then Orson and Rossville. But other than that, it was just winging it. Yeah,
so you didn't have any days where you couldn't find accommodations
no,
within limits?
no. Now I walked in autumn. Um, in fact, I didn't. I left Victoria September 26th. So for the most part, I obviously walked the rest of September, but all of October. And it was, the feeling I got when I walked, because I could see the writing on the wall. I mean, I could see the commercial aspect creeping in. And so I felt so grateful to do it when I did. And of course I would do it again, but you can't relive perfection.
Absolutely. And so
Yeah.
you did it before, and have you done any other routes, or have you done any other Camino walk?
Well, the year after I did the Camino, because I have a Scottish heritage and I've actually been working on a family biography for several years now. So I did the Great Glen Way in Scotland. So the Great Glen Way is the last part of the West Highland Way, which is quite a popular route. And it goes from Fort William to Inverness. And so, I mean, compared to the Camino, it's a walk around the block, it's only 110 miles. So, but I have to say the first thing that it was a beautiful trail. It actually follows the Caledonia Canal. And, but the first thing that struck me about the trail, again, I had weather. The weather gods were always watching out for me. But the first thing I noticed was the cleanliness. I didn't see one tissue on the ground. So that was pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good find. So you've done lots of walking, you've
Yeah.
done different routes and all this. Do you have any advice that you'd give to any solo pilgrims or older pilgrims that decide they want to go do it as part of their bucket list?
Well, let's see, maybe I'll start by speaking for women. First of all, it really depends. Like, to me, age is a number, right? Or it's an attitude, not a number. But if a woman, because I know when I got back and I had so many women ask me so many questions, and I would venture to guess that 8 out of 10, oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. Well, then why couldn't you do that?
Yeah.
So if it comes down to, if a woman wants to walk alone, but feels a great fear, then don't. And if you start off alone and you're feeling okay, but then once you're on the trail, you're not feeling too comfortable, then simply ask another pilgrim if you could walk with them for a while. I mean, those are the kind of souls you meet. There are no strangers on that trail. That's what I discovered. And then, of course, there's just common sense. Like, I tied a whistle to my backpack. I had the emergency number for Spain in my phone, and Alert Cops is an app. So those, just those things to overcome that apprehension of walking alone. But again, if you are in doubt, then don't do it. I have traveled on my own for so long now, it's really my comfort level. And when I did see, I mean, we all know you meet such beautiful souls on the Camino, but I'm trying to imagine walking 800 kilometers while talking. And it was interesting because, of course, you get to know a lot of pilgrims and you walk with a lot of pilgrims. But there were several cases where I saw people who started off as friends didn't end up as friends. So very few, but that did happen.
And there's other cases where you pick up family forever, depending on how you connect.
To this day, I'm getting emails from people I met on the Camino. I mean, very close friends. And one of the wonderful things that happened was 2 women I met from Scotland on the Camino. I told them that I had wanted to walk the Great Glen Way. So she gave me her information. She said, when you decide to do that, you give me a call. So I have a lifelong friend in Edinburgh. So that's where I stayed when I got ready to do the Great Glen Way. And so I got in touch with this woman from Scotland, and she insisted that she and my friend Liz come down to Melrose. She lives in the Borders. And this woman was a walker. She walked from Land's End to John O'Groats. That's the south of England to the top of Scotland. I mean, she was a serious walker. So that, yeah, you just run into good fortune like that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Maggie, you're truly an inspiration to all of us. Your energy, your enthusiasm, and your embracing of life. You're a hero. I want to be just like you if I ever grow up. So thank you very much for this.
That is so sweet. Somebody asked me once, just this question came out of the blue. They said, Maggie, what is your biggest fear? And I was kind of caught off guard, but I didn't miss a beat. I said, outliving my two children.
Well, there's people who are old when they're 50, and there's people young at 100. I think you're going to be at the latter. So thank you very much for being
You're very, very welcome, Jim. My
Thank
pleasure.
you for doing this interview, and we look forward to the question and answer when we get this on video, because I think you'll do this will be spectacular. So thank you.
I'll look forward to it too. Thank you so much for your help.
No problem. It's an honor. All the best. Keep well.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.